Greetings, my name is Michael Cook. I'm an application developer, design artist, and system engineer. In this particular video, I'm going to be covering a Virtualization Lab using Windows 10 22H2. So, Virtualization Lab, Windows 10 22H2, New-VmController 2023.8.0 to 2024.1.0. I don't know if I'm going to get this done this month, but I want to update the module. And part of what I have to do that is will be featured in this video. I will be building a brand new Hyper-V virtual machine using New-VmController, which is a series of classes that expand upon the function New-VmController in order to deploy Windows 10 22H2. Although I have used the function New-VmController in previous videos, in order to update the module, I had to flesh out some of the issues I was having with New-VmController in version 2023.8.0, which is right here. And yeah, so this demonstration is simply working with the newly written classes before posting an update to the module, fighting entropy. Criteria: deploy an operating system using the script file right there. It's this right here. And then post configuration should allow remote desktop as well as WinRM console connection. And initialize VM node is another function that can be downloaded to set the network and the host. These scripts work together, so it's sort of all the same idea here. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load two different modules, the Hyper-V module and the fighting entropy module. And then I'm going to dot source the script. Right, and then that's going to create, actually, here's what I'm going to do. So now that controller is loaded, I'm going to launch the GUI, which just popped up here. I'm going to populate it. And then use this to be able to create a template. So what this is going to do, it's going to look for the switches on my system and then tie it over to the adapter in the configuration. And this is something I featured on New Year's Eve last week, and I managed to finish integrating the changes that I made to this function so far. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this switch here. And then this GUI manages that, and then it's going to refresh everything in the on the back end. And then I'm going to create it again, and then it's going to automatically create the information that's going to be deposited into the virtual machine. And so now I have these here. I can select that, select that. The adapter is not showing up because it's not connected. So if I say new, and then I select the Wi-Fi adapter, I'm going to say testing, click that, and then add it. Alright, so now that's going to create a virtual switch, and then with that information I can populate the rest of the graphical user interface here with more information to configure the virtual machine. So it's refreshing right now, since I just made that switch. And then I'll be able to select it, and then the information will pop up down here. So I select that and say, alright, so I want to go to the range, and I want it to scan everything in that range. So I'll be able to see all the potential hosts and everything. And then what I want to do is click assign. And that's going to assign this adapter to the template, which I'll show that in a moment here. And then, if I want to see other information like what is being propagated, I could go there. If I want to see the adapter, I can go there. If I want to see the configuration, I can go there. Right? And then now I can enter in a brand new credential. And then I can hit random to generate a password or whatever, and then add it. And then these accounts will be distributed to the virtual machine template. And then I click assign. Click OK, and now I'm going to go ahead and click the image tab and go to where I have the image for Windows 10 and Windows Server 2016, and click import. And now what that's going to do is it's going to see an image for OpenSense, which is not a Windows image. but it's still going to have a way to handle the images that it finds that aren't a Windows image. And now it sees the Windows 22H2 ISO. And then what it's doing is if it is a legitimate Windows installation image, it'll populate the additions using DISM. So if I select this one right here, right, and then I want to select that because that's the one I want to use to install, and I want to select the addition, which is something that'll pop up during the installation. So I select that one because I want to use Windows 10 Pro, and I click Assign, and then that's going to assign that image to the template. So it assigned the network, it assigned the credential, it assigned the image. I'm going to go to the template tab, right? And I'm going to browse to where I want to save my templates. So I go to C drive, VDI, that's where I typically save my virtual machines, and then I click Set. And now there's no other templates there, but there is one named New, so I can select that, and then I can say testing, and then the root path, say C drive VDI. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's not where I want the template to go, actually. That's alright. So I'm going to say, now it's ready to create. I can select 2 gigs, 4 gigs, 8, 16. Really, you can put whatever there, but the utility makes it simple. And I'm going to use the 64 gigabyte. It's generation 2. It's going to have 2 cores in it, and then go ahead and click create. Alright, so now in the data grid, if I select the one that I just made, it's going to gray out some of that stuff. If I select new, it's going to allow me to enter new information in. So I select the testing, I can see the accounts that are assigned to it, I can see the switch that's assigned to it, and then I can click export. And then it exports that template to that location. So now I'm on everything that happened so far is just creating that file, and the next time that I would go to use this, I can use this panel just to view the node, or I don't even have to use the graphical user interface, and I can just go to this because I know where it is. So what I'm going to do now is just to show off what this pane does, click browse, go to C drive, and then go into the VDI folder. That's where I saved it. It's not typically where I save those, but that's okay. It's going to see the file right there, template, and then I can view its properties. And then I can see the other hosts that currently exist. So if I go into Hyper-V, I can see that I have 3 different virtual machines already in existence. And then I can see their information and everything. Right, that's part of what this whole thing does, is allows me to see properties without having to open Hyper-V or whatever. And now, because I still have yet to finish this to the point where I can fully create and manage everything from within this graphical user interface, this is not yet implemented. Although I could remove it, and I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to click close, and now what I'm going to do is say C drive VDI, and then run this entire thing. Let's see if I got enough memory. No, I don't. So I'm going to close this and reopen it, and yeah, I gotta have at least a little bit more than 4 gigabytes of memory free for that to be able to work. So on this system. So anyway, now what I can do is relaunch that stuff as soon as the console pops up. And then that's going to load the module, so then I can finally load this. But once I update the module with this version, then it will already load that. But because so many changes were made to the function in the classes that I wrote, I have to dot source it. So that's going to basically load the controller. If I wanted to initialize the GUI, I could just do it via that after I dot source it, because it's what the variable is CTRL. But I don't want to do that. So now what I want to do is create a V. I want to select all this stuff here, right? I want to go from here all the way to the end and just run it. But that wouldn't be very informative and not teaching people what I'm doing. So I'm going to hit that, and that's going to create an object. And that's the object right there, basically properties of everything else. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to where that is. I'm going to select and run all of that, right? And now what's going to happen is it's creating a virtual machine, and then it will connect to the virtual machine, and then it will start the virtual machine, grab the virtual keyboard and everything, and then it'll get to the screen where it says install Windows, right? And then put this over on the side for now. See how it says 7.4 gigs out of 7.9 gigs, so it's already taxing the system. So now what I want to do is I want to go from the beginning of the installation all the way to where the end of the installation is, and then launch the PowerShell window. So it's going to run all that code right there, and you'll be able to see the updates right there. So as this is happening, sort of talk about what is going on. If I can get this into a position where, yeah. So all these updates that are happening in the console are basically scripted events that the NewVmController is managing. It's got a console, it's keeping track of how long it's been since I started the VM. And then it has a bunch of various controls that work with WMI keyboard, the virtual keyboard, to be able to access and change things that are happening in the background of the virtual machine, or on the virtual machine itself. And this is all of that code. And yeah, so what it just did was it navigated through the entire installation. It hit next. It entered, it skipped the product key entry, and then it selected the version of Windows based on the edition that I selected in the graphical user interface that I just showcased. And then it accepted the license terms, and then it selected custom install. It set the partition. It cleared basically all the partitions so that it created default partitions. And now it's installing. It's going to get to 100% right here, and then when it does, it's going to install the features, install the updates, and finish up, and then it's going to reboot. When it reboots, then it can release the ISO, and then it goes through the out-of-box experience type of stuff where it sets it up for initial use. And so I thought about possibly speeding through all of this, because this takes about 20 minutes on this system, but yeah, maybe I could talk about what's going on in here. So now the function is 9,138 lines. There's some stuff in here that, or there's not some stuff in here that is in there, I think. So there's a bunch of PowerShell classes here that manage everything that's in the graphical user interface and the controller. And so there's those generic properties, and then there's the validation controller, which validates like input or paths and stuff, and then interacts with the GUI. And then there's a networking component that refreshed everything, created the virtual switch, destroyed the virtual switch, then created it again, and then repopulated everything in the menu, and then it allowed me to select a particular network, and then it did a ping sweep on that network and showed for various information what hosts were available, what IP addresses were available, and then the function allows the virtual machine node controller to assign an IP address when it goes to create the template. And all these classes kind of like manage all of that to automate all of that, so that there's not a whole lot of thought that needs to go into it. And then the credential manager. So like adding the one credential that I added, it would be one credential that I could use. But let's say that I wanted to connect to I don't know, OneDrive or something like that, and let's see where this is at. 89%. Yeah, I can barely see that, but I need that to be at about 50%. The window is going to remain about that small the whole time here. Anyway, creating all the credentials. So if I want to access like OneDrive, or if I want to access a GitHub account or whatever, I could add those credentials right there and then, and it'd be included into the template. Then you've also got the imaging aspect, image label, and I don't know why I can't collapse that. The image edition, file, object, master. It just manages the ISOs that it found, and it allows me to see everything that's inside of a particular Windows image or whatever, and to load it and unload it into memory, so I can run certain commands on it, and then add it to the queue, which is not actually used in this, I don't think. But that's okay. Yeah, and then the template manager allows me to create a template, and it uses the information from the network, the credential, and the what did I just say? The image, in order to create the template. So all that information is saved to the template, and then once the template is made and it's saved to file, then it has to find a way to instantiate that template into an object again, and be able to restore some of the methods so that this works. And then that's what the node controller is for. So trying to figure out where it starts. There's a lot of code here. Okay, so 3,000 lines just sets up the node controller, and then or it sets everything up for the node controller, and then there are some classes that are sort of duplicated, but not fully duplicated, because they're for different aspects of the utility, and node DHCP, so that it injects the DHCP settings into the virtual machine when it's done. And as you can see, like anytime when it unloaded the ISO, it was about 7 minutes in, and it's going to continue to have updates there and stuff. And yeah, the node stuff, there's a lot of stuff that goes to it, but it has to deal with instantiating the items that were saved, with the accounts, the network, and the image. And then it handles things in the GUI. Now I can collapse stuff. And then it also has a script block controller, so that I can send various scripts to the virtual machine, and then execute those scripts to configure it. And this New-VmController node object is actually this right here. So everything that is seen right here is actually like programmed right here. The control, the keyboard, the property, the security settings, and basically being able to handle it. If it's an existing virtual machine, then it imports that information. If it's not an existing virtual machine, then it can create it and then these methods will, I don't know, this helps managing the virtual machine. You can connect to it with the VM Connect. You can create a new virtual machine by using that, and it'll go through and create the virtual machine with the settings that were specified, and allow for console logging and stuff. And then I can start the machine, I can stop the machine, I can reset it, I can remove it, and it logs all this stuff too as it's happening. You get a checkpoint, new checkpoint, restore a checkpoint, and another restore a checkpoint, remove a checkpoint. Can measure it, but I don't think I'm using that at all. The registry path is where the registry will save stuff, which isn't being used, I don't think. There might be a couple of methods. There might be something that calls upon that, but that's just kind of brought over from the last iteration. Get VM firmware allows me to, depending on whether it's a generation 1 or generation 2, it'll get the VM BIOS and the VM firmware. A whole bunch of these methods and stuff. And then key entry. I had to make serious changes to that so that it would work with Linux or Unix. And then type key, press key, special key, shift key, alt key, control key, win key, control delete, a whole bunch of stuff. It's a pretty long-winded class, and it handles everything that's seen in the script here. And then finally, there's an extension for Windows, and then there's an extension for Unix or Linux. And the extension is basically just allowing me to streamline some of the information, so I could set up scripts and stuff for a particular operating system. And the PS session allows me to join a PS session, and also NewVmController Linux, and all the information for setting up Linux. And then the node master. Let's see where this is. Okay, so now it's at OBE setup. I'm going to go back over to that. So that's where it is right now. And it's waiting for idle states. So this is actually kind of important. To determine the idle state, you need to be able to see that. I mean, you don't need to be able to see it, but since I'm demonstrating this in a video, I want to be able to show how it's calculating the inactivity timer or whatever. And there is other information to show off in that, but this is going to take a minute. The stuff that's in this script isn't all that different from what's in there, but there's various tweaks and updates and stuff. I'll let this run for a minute. So it does look like it's not doing anything, but it is doing something. System preparation, region and everything. Now it's kickstarting the stuff that I ran. Various stuff that I added for Windows 11. I had to remove for Windows 10. Now, the Windows 10 installation hasn't always done this, where it'll automatically reboot the computer after setting up the network settings and stuff, but it's doing that now. That takes a minute. I don't know why it takes a minute, but I'm going to cover this a little bit more. I'm going to go all the way down to the master VM control node. Master is the node master, so that manages the virtual machines and stuff. And now here's the chunk of XAML that I had to slowly re-implement from the function. Various properties to get the XAML window to open, and then the data grid controller, which adds a template for when I clicked on a new object, it changed everything in the graphical user interface. This is what the data grid master is designed to do. And then the new NewVmController master, which tapes all of that stuff that I just showed together into this class, and then it has a bunch of information for accessing the classes and getting properties, setting validation, checking the domain, the NetBIOS, the switch name, the username, the password, confirm, check PIN, all this stuff. Just rules for various elements of the GUI, and then all of the event handlers go to a method that handles stuff in the GUI, the back end, credentials, the image stuff, the template stuff, node refresh. And going through like a 9,000 line script in a few minutes is hard to do. So go back over to the VM. It's still waiting to restart. And as you can see, all the updates are in the console there. And then, this sets the initial values for things in the GUI. And then the stage XAML is basically manages all that stuff. And it sets the initial values. And then a reload will call upon all the methods in order to invoke the window. And then, that's the end of it. And then, boom. So, what that was in that I didn't fully examine in this short video. It should be about like 20 minutes so far, I think. And it's going to get to the point where it's going to start post-configuring the environment. And then I'll use remote desktop and WinRM to connect to the device. It's going to skip the OneDrive setup. And select the limited experience. I'm going to go ahead and minimize that. And then it's going to set up the user. Basically, the user that I set up, it's going to select that one. And it's going to create a memorable password, which is randomly generated. And security questions are all going to have the same answer, just to kind of get through it. And then always have access to your recent browsing data. It's going to skip that, or not now. privacy settings. Customize your experience. Let Cortana help you get stuff done. Alright, so now it's going to be ready for post configuration, but it's got to idle out before it can really do that. So yeah, it's going to take several, maybe not several minutes, but it'll take a couple minutes to get to the desktop, and then it'll launch the PowerShell window, and then it'll run the rest of this particular script. So yeah, everything that is happening was instructed and calculated in the graphical user interface that I have to, all this stuff, well, minus this script right here, is going to go, everything in this particular file is going to be updated to that in the next version, which I indicated that in the beginning. And you know, I have to do some more additional testing with Linux and Windows Server, 3 different operating systems, getting this function to work for all 3 types. And the Unix doesn't have to be Linux, it could also be like I don't know, OpenSense, setting up an OpenSense gateway, router, whatever. Alright, so now it's at the desktop, and now it's got to idle out before it'll allow me to, before it'll launch the PowerShell window. So that is where I highlighted the code and ran all of that. Yeah, so right now, the virtual machine isn't configured with any of the information that the
Hey, Mike.
hey,
So
I'm recording right now.
you're recording?
Yeah.
What, you and me?
Yeah, I'm recording a video.
Video?
Yeah.
Who?
I'm doing work right now.
Oh, what is... Can I talk to you a minute or no?
Not right this second.
When can I? I made a special trip.
I'll be here a little bit later.
Don't leave now.
All right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm recording stuff right now. I can't pause it.
Is there any way you can do this while you're talking to me?
It's gonna influence the video.
Right. But I mean, is this recording you and me talking right now?
Yes.
Oh. Oh. Gee, I don't want that.
Not much I can do.
What are you recording?
I'm recording my work.
Gotcha. All right. Have a good one.
Okay. So, yeah. Now, this is opening up the PowerShell window, and it's gotten to this point right here. All right, so now, as you can see, that's happened. Now, if I wanted to set a checkpoint, I could do that by doing this. And I can restore that checkpoint too by doing that. But the purpose of me doing that is just to demonstrate that it's all in the object in memory. And now what I'm going to do is highlight all this and then just run it. So I'll increase the zoom level to 75. And that'll influence what is seen in the, I'm going to put it back to 50. So what it's doing right now is it's accessing this third script here that's saved on GitHub. And then it's creating an object in this host here. And then what it does is it allows all the networking information to be propagated. That's what all those parameters are there. And then it sets the DHCP information. And then what it's going to do is set persistence. So to change all the networking information, it'll save some of that stuff to the registry, and then the object can be recalled into memory by other commands or whatever, and it doesn't, like, it can close the host on this particular thing here, and then open it back up, and then pull those properties back into memory. So anyway, right now it's setting the time zone, and now it's setting firewall entries. I did experiment with passing over the script without having to type it into the console with mixed results. So I figured might as well just do it the old way that I know that works. It is a little bit slower, but it's more consistent. Being able to start up a TCP session and then hand over a script, it does decrease the amount of time needed to set up the system in post configuration, which is what it's doing right now. So all the stuff that showed up, the verbose output there, it set a whole bunch of registry settings like I mentioned, and then it changed firewall rules, it changed the network adapter to be compliant with the settings that the template controller had created for the template, and then now it's setting up a WinRM connection. So I'll be able to, once the script is done on the left, I'll be able to use PS session to connect to the device. And right now it's setting up a firewall entry for WinRM. Alright, so now it also enabled the remote desktop just there. And now it's going to install the fighting entropy module, which isn't needed for post configuration, but it just shows that it can install a bunch of stuff for the post configuration and whatnot. Now that is the installation method. This is the slower installation method, which grabs all the individual files and then deploys it, and then the newer installation method has an issue with it does all the same things, but for whatever reason there's an issue with importing the module after you do that. So I'm not doing that quite yet. I have to figure that out before I update the module. And now there's a bit of an issue because the script is trying to continue past all of that. But as you can see, it got hung up on a particular individual thing. It should continue. really sure what it's stuck on. Okay, it is continuing. So there's a new element that I'd like to be able to add to this whole control mechanism, and that is so that it can run a command and then it'll wait until that command is done and then communicate that it's done to the outside controller script, which could do that a few different ways, but the idle state is not going to work for some stuff. And me making a video of this kind of like halting and not working and then continuing to work, that's good, but it tried to run scripts that it wasn't ready to run quite yet. So in order to pick back up where it left off, so yeah, it ran the installation and it's going to get the latest. I think that works. Yeah, it did. All right. And then it also ran the next script, so that's good. I don't know if it will install the VS Code though, unless maybe it will. Oh yeah, wow, look at that. So it successfully ran the scripts that it sent there. But so we'll say 8. So once this is done, what I'll do is rerun this and pick back up where it left off. Well, these are things that I kind of have to mull over, because if I want a new control mechanism, then I have to figure out how to implement that and then make sure that it sets everything up somehow, which I could do all this with WinRM instead of installing it through these scripts here. And then that would be faster and well, maybe not necessarily faster, but it would require another reboot. Alright, so it ran through all that, and now it's ready to run the next script. Now it's installing the custom theme. This theme here. Basically setting up my development environment and everything. And now it's going to run it's going to install the Visual Studio Code PowerShell extension. Probably the best move is to set up WinRM and then do all this post installation stuff from the machine here. So now it's restarting the system. It ran through all those scripts. Well, I don't want it to run DHCP. So anyway, now time to connect to RDP, connect to WinRM. Alright, so now that's up. Go ahead and open RDP. And now let's say testing. I don't remember the password, so account password set clipboard. Here, just to show what the password is. There it is, and that was randomly generated. So go to here, type that password in, click OK, and then it's whoa, oh whoa. I am connected to RDP on the system that I just set up. That is something. I could close that if I want to, but I'm gonna keep it open for a minute. And so if I open up the Visual Studio Code on this virtual machine now, File, Preferences, Theme, Browse Color Themes, Boss Mode, File, New Text File, PowerShell. There it is. And it's not using the Cascadia code font. So here's what I'll do is File, New File, PowerShell. What I'm going to do is go to the site, then go to scripts. All the various scripts that I've worked on over the last while. And where is it? Install Cascadia code. Or what I could do is this. Show a little bit of my live scripting stuff. So the script is at that. And now what I can do is say script set clipboard. Right loaded that whole script from my GitHub. Now I can do is remove the line there, and now I can install Cascadia code. So yeah, this isn't exactly pertinent to the demonstration, but you know, if I want to set up an environment to be like cookie cutter and very specifically set a certain way, all these things apply. And now I can close this and reopen it. Go to Preferences, Settings, and then change the font to Cascadia code, which is right here. And there it is. Now it's using the Cascadia code font to show basically the script I wrote to install Cascadia code in Visual Studio Code, which has the theme, my custom theme installed to it. And now I can show, you know, the New-VmController classes that I mentioned right there. And yeah, there's that. And there's this little icon on the desktop, which if I want to launch that, that'll open up the flooding entropy in the console and import it to the session, so that I could load the other functions that I need in this environment. Of course, I'm running this on a 2009 laptop with like a dual core or a quad core Intel something i5. So yeah, it doesn't normally take all that long if I'm not running so much stuff. But let's say Viper equal get Viper bomb. And then that's going to load the utility Viper bomb, which will, it's not going to load the thing Viper bomb because I think I need to fix that. I'm pretty sure I know what the problem is, but, you know, if I wanted to load that function, which is seen in other videos, then I would be able to customize this environment even further. So what I'm going to do is close that, and then why don't I sign out? Sign out, and then I will go back into this, and I'll say, all right, so that one is good. Splat equal vm.ps session account. And say enter ps session splat. What? Alright, so that was working. Not sure why it's not working now. Sort of sucks. In order to join a PS session, you just run that and it just creates a hash table. And be able to, oh, you know what? That's why it's not working. Or let's do this. It's because I didn't use the @ symbol there. But here it is. Ping L420x64, and it sees it. I think it's 192.168.1.188. I don't know. Hold on a second. Yeah. Alright, so I don't have the firewall entry open for that, I guess. Let's see. Oh, 4. That's why. So yeah, a little clerical error is kind of throwing me off here. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for this particular video. I think I demonstrated basically everything that I wanted to demonstrate. The only thing that I didn't really touch on all that much is this thing right here. Let's see, date, time, set that to now, and then I'll have to change the information. And yeah, I haven't added this to the module for specific reasons, because this is meant to just be, I don't know, a script that kind of reintegrates everything. It doesn't need to be part of the module, though it probably would be pretty useful. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. Here's what I'm going to do now is shut this down. Actually, I'm not going to shut it down. What I'm going to do is say VM remove. Right, and that will remove the virtual machine that I just made. It'll remove all aspects and traces of it. And I'll be able to dump the console. I think actually it does that automatically. When I say dumping the console, is basically everything that I did in this particular PowerShell host. So everything is still attached to the two variables, CTRL and VM. So the VM variable is just a property of the controller, and interfaces with virtual machine that it's currently destroying. And if I wanted to recreate it, just run that whole entire script again. And then there it is. So if I say file, open file, nope, we're opening this. So there's all the logs that I've got. And you got server 02, server 00, desktop 00, RHEL 00, desktop. You can see all these log files that I've been saving with this. I haven't done much over the last like 6 months or so, but here's the one that I just made. And then boom. It's got everything that the virtual machine did. put in the time that it was created, and then the time that it was destroyed, and all my attempts to log into the PS session. Basically, every method that I'm using in the NewVmController is being logged. And you know, what's even cooler is that this one has a console as well. It looks like I'm going to have to where did it save it? Oh, it didn't save it. Module console output. So I mean, there's not much information in this because I only use this to instantiate the thing, but it shows when I you know, launched this, you know, in the beginning of the video, and then also, you know, I can take that time span and add it to that. Like, watch, I'll actually do that right now. All the way down. There it is. So that's when I ended it, which is like a minute and a half ago. Anyway, yeah, that's gonna do it for this particular video, I think. So, if you liked what you saw, feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. The next video that I do will probably be Windows Server, and probably do one of Linux. I don't know if I'm going to do it anytime within the next few days or whatever, but I do want to get back to developing stuff on the server side, and I need to do that in order to update the module. Anyway, thanks for watching.